On March 12, 2018, John Freeman was driving his black 2015 Ford F-150 on Highway 40 in the suburbs of Memphis, Tennessee. Freeman, the owner of Sweet Memphis BBQ in the East Side District, was heading to Restaurant Depot for his weekly supply run. According to the Memphis Police Department reconstruction team, the truck was traveling at approximately 80 miles per hour when it suddenly veered off the road and crashed into a guardrail. Freeman was pronounced dead at the scene by first responders from Memphis Fire Department Station 23. The medical examiner report documented massive internal trauma and severe head injuries as the cause of death. Freeman's establishment, Sweet Memphis BBQ, employing local residents and serving as a gathering place in an area struggling with poverty and crime. Highway Patrol. Inspector Mike Donovan arrived at the scene and filed his preliminary report just 45 minutes later, concluding that the crash resulted from catastrophic brake failure due to poor vehicle maintenance. This hastily drawn conclusion raised concerns among several veteran officers, particularly given Donovan's history of rapid case closures and his close association with Officer James Crawford. Crawford, despite not being assigned to Traffic Division, appeared at the crash site. Multiple officers present reported that Crawford collected key pieces of evidence, including fragments of the brake line, claiming they were needed for further analysis. These components were logged into evidence at Memphis Police Department's Central Evidence Unit, but disappeared within 48 hours. The evidence log shows Crawford's signature as the last person to access these items. The victim's daughter, Tanya Freeman, inherited the restaurant following her father's death. The subsequent insurance claim filed with Liberty Mutual Insurance was denied based on the police report indicating negligent vehicle maintenance. 3 months after her father's death, Tanya Freeman married Marcus Mitchell, an Army Special Forces sergeant stationed at Fort Campbell. The wedding reception was held at the East Side Community Center, attended by 200 guests. Crawford, uninvited, attended the celebration, spending 3 hours observing the newlyweds while consuming significant amounts of whiskey at the open bar. His presence was noted by several guests, including retired Police Sergeant David Martinez, who later testified about Crawford's unsettling fixation on the couple. Investigation records from 2015 to 2017 showed that Crawford had attempted to establish an extortion scheme in the East Side District, targeting local business owners for protection payments. John Freeman had not only refused to participate, but had also encouraged other business owners to resist these demands. Freeman had filed 3 separate complaints against Crawford with Internal Affairs, though all investigations were suspiciously terminated without action. The Memphis Police Department's subsequent investigation in 2022 confirmed that Crawford had orchestrated Freeman's murder by tampering with his vehicle's brake lines. Forensic analysis of Crawford's personal computer revealed detailed surveillance notes on Freeman's daily routine and vehicle maintenance schedule, along with research on brake system failures. This murder marked the beginning of a 4-year reign of terror that would devastate the Freeman family and shake the foundations of law enforcement in Memphis. In May 2019, Officer James Crawford secured his transfer to the East Side Precinct after serving 3 years in the Central District. The subsequent investigation of Crawford's police computer revealed extensive dossiers on 7 African American families in the area. His targets shared common characteristics. They were predominantly military wives and small business owners who managed their enterprises while their husbands served overseas. Prior to the Freeman case, Crawford had established a pattern of suspicious deaths connected to business owners who refused his extortion attempts. 2 business owners from different Memphis districts had died under mysterious circumstances after declining to pay Crawford's demanded protection money. The first victim, a convenience store owner, was found dead from apparent carbon monoxide poisoning in 2016. The second, a restaurant proprietor, died in what was ruled an accidental drowning in 2017. Both cases were quickly closed by investigators who later admitted to receiving bribes from Crawford. Crawford's preparation for targeting Tanya Freeman began when he obtained deployment orders for the 75th Ranger Regiment. The document confirmed Marcus Mitchell's 12-month deployment to Afghanistan. Crawford meticulously planned his approach, waiting for Mitchell's departure before initiating his extortion scheme. On May 22, Crawford orchestrated a raid on Sweet Memphis BBQ. He manipulated the judicial system by using 2 individuals from the holding cells as witnesses. These individuals later testified that Crawford had promised them reduced sentences in exchange for their cooperation. During the raid, Crawford planted illegal substances in the kitchen area. The subsequent police report, filed under Crawford's supervision, documented the discovery of illegal substances on the premises. That evening, under duress and facing threats of prosecution, Tanya Freeman signed her first payment agreement. Crawford demanded $3,000 monthly in exchange for his silence about the fabricated illegal substances charges. The payment schedule was designed to coincide with the restaurant's most profitable days, ensuring maximum financial strain on the business. He established a routine of weekly visits to collect payments, often arriving after closing hours when Tanya would be alone. Police records show that during this period, Crawford deliberately manipulated patrol schedules to ensure no other officers would be in the vicinity during his collection visits. Investigation of Crawford's financial records revealed a complex money laundering operation. The extortion payments were processed through a series of small cash deposits at different bank branches across Memphis. Crawford maintained detailed records of his extortion scheme, documenting payment dates and amounts in encrypted files on his personal devices. Several business owners later came forward with accounts of Crawford's intimidation tactics during this period. His approach followed a consistent pattern: initial friendly visits, followed by escalating threats and demands for protection money. Those who refused faced manufactured criminal charges or orchestrated health code violations. The investigation uncovered that Crawford had developed a network of corrupt officials who assisted in his operations. These included health inspectors, building code enforcement officers, and fellow police officers who would corroborate his false reports. This network ensured that his victims had nowhere to turn for help, as complaints were systematically buried or dismissed. Over 2 years, Tanya Freeman developed a pattern of deception during video calls with her deployed husband, Marcus Mitchell. In August, she attributed her broken wrist and shoulder contusions to a skateboarding incident. October's facial bruising and fractured ribs were blamed on a cabinet door accident. December brought a concussion and sprained ankle, supposedly from a bathroom fall. March records showed 3 broken fingers and severe back trauma, explained as gym accidents. In May, she told Marcus that falling downstairs caused her dislocated shoulder and facial lacerations. Mitchell, serving in Afghanistan, accepted these explanations despite growing suspicious of their frequency. Crawford established a routine of Friday night visits to Sweet Memphis BBQ after closing hours. The extortion payments increased methodically: $3,000 in May 2019, $5,000 by September, $7,000 in November, and $8,000 monthly by early 2020. Business records revealed Sweet Memphis BBQ's monthly revenue dropped from $45,000 to less than $20,000 during this period. Bank statements showed Tanya making large cash withdrawals every Thursday, preparing for Crawford's Friday collections. The physical abuse followed a calculated pattern. Crawford typically arrived at 11:30 p.m., after the last employee left. Medical records documented systematic injuries: broken fingers, cigarette burns, strangulation marks, and multiple concussions. Tanya began visiting different hospitals to avoid suspicion, using variations of her name: T. Freeman, Tanya Mitchell, T.F. Mitchell. Hospital photographs showed a progression of increasingly severe injuries, though reports were often modified or disappeared entirely. On December 15, 2019, Tanya Freeman consumed 30 sleeping pills, in what she later described as an attempt to escape the ongoing torture. She was admitted to Memphis General Hospital at 3:47 a.m. The attending physician initially documented signs of physical abuse, including fresh cigarette burns and finger-shaped bruises on her throat. By morning, these records were altered to suggest an accidental overdose of sleep medication. The following day, Crawford entered her hospital room and inflicted new injuries, including a broken rib and severe bruising, as punishment for her suicide attempt. January 2020 marked a dramatic escalation. Crawford began using Sweet Memphis BBQ for drug distribution, forcing Tanya to store and sell narcotics. He planted 300 grams of heroin in the kitchen's ventilation system and photographed its placement. Crawford then demanded 70% of all restaurant revenue, threatening to frame Tanya's mother for drug possession if she refused compliance. Her mother, Margaret Freeman, resided at Oakwood Nursing Home, where Crawford made several intimidating visits to demonstrate his ability to access the facility. The restaurant's transformation into a drug operation was methodical. Crawford designated specific tables for transactions and required Tanya to maintain detailed records of drug sales in a coded ledger disguised as inventory lists. He installed his own associates as delivery drivers to facilitate distribution, while forcing Tanya to fire long-term employees who might notice suspicious activities. The terror campaign included psychological warfare. Crawford regularly described to Tanya how he had orchestrated her father's death, providing details only the killer would know. He forced her to watch as he destroyed family photographs and mementos, including her father's military medals and wedding album. During his Friday visits, he would often place his service weapon on the table while eating food he forced her to prepare, reminding her of his power over her life. By the end of 2020, Sweet Memphis BBQ operated as a shell of its former self. The once bustling family restaurant now served as a front for Crawford's criminal activities, while Tanya endured continuous physical and psychological torture. Between 2019 and 2021, 18 anonymous calls reached the Memphis Police Department Dispatch Center. Each caller reported specific incidents at Sweet Memphis BBQ. Sounds of violence after closing hours, suspicious Friday night visits, and signs of drug activity. Police dispatcher Maria Gonzalez documented recurring patterns in these reports and initiated a formal investigation request. Within 7 days of her filing, department management reassigned her to the basement archives. A subsequent investigation revealed her reports were deliberately misfiled under unrelated case numbers. The district attorney's office received 4 detailed written statements about Crawford's activities at Sweet Memphis BBQ. These documents disappeared from District Attorney James Harding's desk without investigation. The 2022 search of his office uncovered $50,000 in cash hidden in his office safe, with serial numbers matching Crawford's documented extortion payments. St. Mary's Hospital employed Dr. Ramirez, who maintained precise medical records of Tanya Freeman's injuries. His documentation included a systematic pattern of fractures, contusions, and signs of physical trauma. Within a week of submitting abuse reports to hospital administration, Dr. Ramirez received an abrupt transfer to an Alaskan medical facility. His replacement, Dr. Sarah Johnson, altered 6 months of patient records, changing assault indicators to accidental injury descriptions. Regina Thompson, a postal worker on the East Side route, kept a personal diary of her observations at Sweet Memphis BBQ. Her detailed notes chronicled Tanya Freeman's visible injuries, bruises, limping, and strangulation marks on her neck. After Thompson filed a police report, her postal vehicle was destroyed in an arson attack. Both Thompson and her diary vanished without trace. The arson investigation concluded within 2 days, without suspects. The restaurant's transformation into a drug operation generated approximately $300,000 in narcotics revenue per year. Crawford established 3 shell companies to launder these profits: River City Restaurant Supply, Mid-South Kitchen Equipment, and Tennessee Food Services. Each company processed drug money through fake invoices and non-existent services. 2 key witnesses to the drug operation met tragic ends. Head chef Marcus Henderson died when his car's brake lines failed, similar to John Freeman's death. Senior waitress Amy Rodriguez perished in what investigators ruled an accidental kitchen fire at her home. Both deaths occurred shortly after they had contacted federal authorities. Local businesses surrounding Sweet Memphis BBQ reported break-ins and vandalism after providing information to investigators. Health inspectors who questioned restaurant operations faced manufactured complaints leading to their dismissal. Restaurant suppliers who noticed irregularities found their licenses suspended or revoked. On January 15, 2022, Marcus Mitchell returned from his deployment in Afghanistan. His military service record showed an exemplary tour, earning multiple commendations for combat leadership. The homecoming celebration ended abruptly when he saw his wife's condition. Despite heavy makeup application, bruises were visible on Tanya's neck and face. Her medical records later revealed 3 healing rib fractures and a recently dislocated shoulder. At 23:40, Mitchell entered Sweet Memphis BBQ through the back entrance. The restaurant's security system had been disabled, standard procedure for Crawford's Friday visits. Inside, he encountered Officer James Crawford emerging from the storage room, adjusting his uniform. Tanya Freeman was found inside the storage area, showing signs of recent assault. Her torn clothing and fresh injuries were documented in subsequent police photographs. The ensuing confrontation lasted 7 minutes, according to witness statements from nearby businesses. Crawford, despite his police combat training, proved no match for Mitchell's special forces experience. The fight moved through the kitchen, leaving evidence of extreme violence. Crawford's blood on the walls, broken furniture, and scattered kitchen equipment. Forensics documented Crawford's injuries: shattered jaw, nasal fractures, and multiple broken ribs. During the altercation, Mitchell repeatedly demanded Crawford confess to John Freeman's murder. Under sustained assault, Crawford finally admitted to tampering with Freeman's brake lines in 2018. His exact words, captured on Mitchell's phone recording: "The old man wouldn't pay. One cut to the brake lines solved the problem." This confession matched forensic evidence from Freeman's vehicle that had been suppressed during the original investigation. At 23:47, Crawford attempted to draw a backup weapon concealed in his ankle holster. The subsequent gunshot was recorded by multiple nearby security cameras. The bullet entered Crawford's chest at an upward angle, consistent with Mitchell's statement that Crawford was reaching down when shot. Ballistics later confirmed the fatal round came from Crawford's own weapon. The first patrol unit arrived at 23:51, responding to reports of gunfire. Officers found Crawford dead from a single gunshot wound. The crime scene revealed extensive evidence of Crawford's criminal operation: drugs concealed in the kitchen, financial records documenting extortion payments, and surveillance equipment used to monitor victims. Mitchell's phone, containing Crawford's confession, was secured as evidence. Medical examination of Tanya Freeman documented years of systematic abuse. Her injuries matched patterns recorded in Dr. Ramirez's original reports, finally providing official confirmation of Crawford's brutality. Forensic analysis of the restaurant's office computer revealed encrypted files detailing Crawford's criminal enterprise, including his orchestration of John Freeman's murder. Mitchell's military training was evident in his methodical approach. He had activated his phone's recording function before entering, ensuring Crawford's confession would be preserved. The angle of entry and powder residue patterns on Crawford's weapon indicated he had drawn first, supporting Mitchell's claim of self-defense. Every aspect of the confrontation demonstrated Mitchell's tactical awareness, even in a moment of extreme emotional stress. The investigation revealed Mitchell had suspected Crawford's involvement in his father-in-law's death since discovering irregularities in the original accident report. His return from deployment was timed to coincide with Crawford's routine Friday visit, suggesting careful planning rather than an impulsive act of revenge. The Memphis County Court convened for the murder trial of Marcus Mitchell in March 2022. Judge Michael O'Brien presided over proceedings that would expose the deep-rooted corruption within the Memphis justice system. The prosecution's case relied heavily on portraying Mitchell as a violent veteran who murdered a decorated police officer. Critical evidence began disappearing from police custody. Crawford's service weapon vanished from the evidence locker, eliminating the possibility of proving it was drawn first. Security footage showing Crawford's weekly visits to Sweet Memphis BBQ became corrupted. Mitchell's phone, containing Crawford's recorded confession, suffered unexplained magnetic damage while in evidence storage. 5 of Crawford's former victims attended the trial. Their potential testimony could have established his pattern of extortion and violence. One died in a car accident the night before her scheduled appearance. 2 fled Tennessee after receiving threats. The remaining witnesses, faced with implicit threats to their families, recanted their previous statements and denied any wrongdoing by Crawford. The corruption reached into every aspect of the trial. 3 forensic experts mysteriously altered their testimony the night before the proceedings, changing their conclusions about the shooting angle and gunshot residue patterns. 5 police officers committed perjury, presenting a false timeline that contradicted Mitchell's account. Dr. Ramirez, flying in from Alaska to testify about Tanya's documented injuries, died in a suspicious plane crash over Montana. The district attorney's office aggressively pursued a death penalty conviction. The prosecution painted Mitchell as a mentally unstable combat veteran who murdered a police officer in cold blood. They systematically suppressed evidence of Crawford's crimes, while highlighting Mitchell's military combat training as proof of premeditation. The jury selection process revealed the system's bias. Among the 12 jurors sat 2 former police officers and the wife of an active detective. Their presence violated standard jury selection protocols, but Judge O'Brien overruled defense objections. The jury deliberated for 12 hours, though later investigation revealed their decision had been influenced by external pressure. The verdict was delivered on a Friday evening. Mitchell was found guilty of first-degree murder with aggravating circumstances. Judge O'Brien immediately sentenced him to 25 years in maximum security prison, denying all motions for appeal. The sentence exceeded standard guidelines for similar cases, reflecting the system's determination to punish Crawford's killer. The aftermath revealed the extent of systemic corruption. Internal affairs investigations were blocked. Witness protection requests were denied. Appeals were systematically rejected. Every mechanism designed to ensure justice had been turned against Mitchell, transforming him from a decorated soldier protecting his family into a convicted cop killer. Tanya Freeman disappeared from Memphis after the trial, leaving behind a community that had failed to protect her family. The sweet Memphis BBQ building stood vacant, its darkened windows a testament to Crawford's lasting victory over the Freeman family. The system's revenge was complete. Not only had it protected one of its corrupt members even after death, but it had destroyed those who dared to expose its corruption. The Mitchell case became a sealed file in Memphis court records, its details buried under layers of bureaucratic protection. The truth about Crawford's reign of terror, momentarily exposed by Mitchell's actions, was once again hidden behind a wall of institutional silence. The system had protected its own, ensuring that the full story of corruption and abuse would never see the light of justice.